Hi Angela, how you doing?
Hi, Gino. Fine, thanks.
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. It's been obviously great working with you. Actually, already a number of different showcases. I think we've done Piccadilly together. I know there's been several other ones, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, right? Or
yeah. There's been Times Square, um, Vegas. Yeah, I think that's
awesome. So you've been around with us for a good chunk
yeah,
or a good
for
chunk
quite
of the
a long
globe for
time.
now, at least.
Yeah, yeah,
Before we begin, I just want to say that I obviously really admire your works. I think they are really one of a kind. I think that's obviously a good way to put it. Um, Easy to detect, of course. I
yeah,
didn't need to look every time I saw it on the big screens. For example, in Piccadilly, I knew right away that it's your works. I don't have to look at who did it because they're so unique in terms of style. Um, so there's a lot that obviously I want to cover from an art point of view as well. But maybe that before we go ahead and start, for all our viewers, if you can just give us a brief intro about who you are, where you're from, when you started in the art scene, how long you've been in the art scene, and just maybe a brief glimpse initially about the type of artwork that you do and what inspires you.
yeah. No problem. Yeah, well, my name's Angela Thouless, and I'm based in Aberdeen, Scotland. I went to art school and graduated in 1999 with a degree, and then I went on to do a master's degree, which I got in 20. No, 2001 it would have been. And to be honest, I've really been painting ever since. Um, when I first left, it was kind of like cityscapes that I started with originally. And then in 2012, I went to Amsterdam on holiday for the first time and just totally fell in love with the street art there. Um, I started photographing it non-stop, and when I came back, I started to do it was still cityscapes, but it was now incorporating graffiti into it. So I did that for a good few years. I was very lucky in that this area that I found in Amsterdam called the Spouwstraat. It was an area that was inhabited by lots of artists and musicians who had were squatting illegally in the buildings there. And I actually got to know quite a few of the artists there, so I actually did have my work exhibited in Amsterdam in that very area. So that's when I first kind of got interested in street art, and then by sheer luck, in 2016, the New Art Festival, which I don't know if many people have heard of that, it's a street art festival that started in Norway, came to my hometown of Aberdeen for the first time. So I decided to volunteer at that because it would be a great opportunity to work with the artist and kind of see just what goes on behind the scenes. So I did that in 2016, and I met quite a lot of the volunteers there who were local people I'd never met before, but realised I wasn't the only one interested in street art here. There was lots of other people. So we set up a group called the ThrowUp Gallery, and we started to do just kind of community projects and children's workshops, all based around graffiti and street art. So in 2019, I was asked to show some of my work at Aberdeen Fashion Week, and the person who runs that, Lydia, said to me, would I create something specially at that event that she could auction to raise money for an orphanage she was running at the time in Kenya? So because I'd hit on this idea of the spray cans with the faces, I thought, right, I'm going to come up with a kind of African tribal face, but incorporate the colours of Kenya in it. So I did that, and lots of people were bidding for it. The person who eventually won it said to me, you've really come up with something unique here. Do you realise? And at the time, I hadn't really. And he said, I think I could maybe help you to take this a little bit further. So we met up for lunch a few weeks after that. And he said to me, why don't you try and come up with a kind of collection of these faces, and I can help you to put them onto, it was t-shirts we decided to do, and show them at the next Aberdeen Fashion Week. So I asked my friend Lydia how many bedrooms there was in the orphanage in Kenya, and it turned out there was 10. So I decided to do 10 paintings so that every child in the orphanage would have one of my spray can faces on their wall. And that's really how it started.
So did you basically allocate each design to a certain child, or at the end of the day
Yes.
you just
Yes.
distribute
Well,
everything
they,
evenly?
they kind of just picked. I went on and spoke to them on YouTube, and they picked the ones that they liked the best, and that's really how it started, to be honest.
Awesome. And up to today, are you still working with a lot of orphanages and organizations down there as well? Or
Well, she doesn't run that orphanage now, but yeah, I have worked on a lot of charity things, yeah. And then what happened was just after I showed the t-shirts at Aberdeen Fashion Week, I decided after years of people saying, get your work on Instagram and not doing it, I thought, right, I'm going to set up an Instagram profile. And I put photos from the fashion show on there. And I was contacted by the Urban Music Awards, who said, would really love to show your t-shirts during the event because sort of midway through it, they have a kind of break and they try and promote lots of brands and things. And at that point, I wasn't really thinking of it being a brand or being anything. So I sent the t-shirts down, but I didn't know that at the event that night there were a few people there from Fashion Crossover London. So they contacted me the very next day to say, we'd really like to sign you up to work with us. But the email I got said, oh, we're very busy just now because we're about to style Lady Gaga for the Brit Awards. So I actually thought it was a scam and I ignored it.
yeah.
And then I kept getting more and more emails. And then one day I thought, well, maybe this isn't a scam. And the manager there said, I'm sure you're ignoring these emails. Can I speak to you on the phone to reassure you that this is a real offer? And yeah, I've been with them ever since. And that's
Wow,
how it
that's
really started.
amazing. So you've been at the music awards, you've been at a number of different events in Fashion Week, mainly always in Aberdeen, or have you also taken part of?
I've done Milan Fashion Week,
Awesome.
London Fashion Week just in February this year, and then in September coming up, I'm taking part in Manhattan Fashion Week.
Awesome. And is it still predominantly in t-shirts that you have most of your art pieces, or is it all
So
kinds of stuff?
it's kind of gone into lots of other things now. Yeah,
And the way it works from a business model standpoint, I suppose that you just you take a cut out of every sale, or you do a
yeah.
licensing agreement. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I do own the rights to them. As I say, when I first started this, I wasn't really taking it all that seriously.
Mm.
And then once it started to take off, I thought I better start taking this seriously. So yeah, I got everything trademarked, came up with a logo. So I've got all the rights for that. And yeah, I thought I need to start taking this more seriously now.
That's
So yeah.
really, really cool, Angela. And tell me now a little bit more about your artwork. Obviously, it's quite unique. For me, to me, I always wanted to tell you, but I don't know if maybe others have told you something similar. It looks a little bit like some sort of Mayan or Incan tribal style, based on the faces and the imagery, and even so the colors that you
Yeah,
put in there.
yeah.
What inspired you to draw such a unique kind of art from the get-go? Was it something that you know that you can relate to based on any past experiences, or just in general that's something that's just a style that came out of nowhere?
Well, when I was at art school, I was always really interested in German Expressionism. And German Expressionism all was influenced by African tribal primitive art. So I've always liked that, and I've always kind of incorporated that into it. So it kind of goes way back from there, really. But what's happened is, as I've kind of started this, people that I've met along the way have said, "Oh, I come from this country. Have you thought of looking at that?" Or I've come from here. So it's actually been the people that I've met, to be honest, as well, that's inspired what I've done. Um, Fashion Crossover London has another company in Asia. So that was kind of what got me into start looking at Asian culture. And as I say, I've exhibits said to me, have you ever looked at Bolivian carnival masks? So it's just people have suggested things, and to be honest, that's how it's all come about, really.
That's really cool, and I'm really, happy that we're also working with you on many fronts. Obviously, one of the things that we would be more than happy to to kind of conjunctly worked in is is any sort of charity work, because that's an area that obviously we're starting to look
Mm.
at a little bit more in detail. Working with brands, also amazing what you're doing. A lot of our artists are, they remain very interested to tap into the fashion sector. It's obviously really hard. Um, but I think obviously the type of art that you do plays in very nicely there, because it's not only a very unique style, but of course the colors, the faces, it's easily recognizable. So I think from a fashion standpoint, it works all quite well. Um, in terms of everything from your art journey, what has been the thing that has kind of most inspired you to take on this road from the get-go? I suppose you mentioned you learned a little bit at school. You did, I suppose, some classes. So
Mhm.
clearly, you have some sort of a background from before. But since is it was it since a young age that you were really involved? Was it somebody that got you really involved in the
I've
art
just
scene?
always loved
Wh-
I've just always loved art. And I think when I stumbled across the street art, I really liked it because it's very welcoming to everybody. You don't need to have gone to art school and gone through, art education. Street art embraces kind of everybody from complete beginners. So I think that's kind of what inspired me the most, really.
Just so everybody, because so for everybody that's watching, when you say street art in general, and I suppose
Mm.
that's the area that that gave you kind of those initial paths, um, is it more that you would actually be putting work on a wall in the street, or is it more
Yeah,
the style
yeah.
that?
I mean, a lot of the faces that you'll have seen, I have painted those on walls
Yeah.
here. During we've had kind of little sort of street art festivals or workshops. So yeah, I have actually. That's how they started off in a way, is they were painted on a can, and then I painted them on a wall. And then when the lockdowns came, I thought, well, you know, I can't obviously go out and paint them on walls now. I've got to start painting them on canvases. So really, I hadn't done that many paintings on canvases till the lockdowns, to be honest. I'd only done maybe three or four. And that's when I thought, well, I'll just start painting them on canvases till this all ends. And yeah, and 3, 4 years on, I'm still painting them. It's never stopped.
So you've done street, you've done canvas, now you're doing brand and fashion. Seems like you've been a little bit all over. Um, What about all this do you enjoy the most, and is it drawing it on the street? Is it the actual process? Is it obviously working with the charities and doing a little bit of greater good based on your talents? Is it the reaction of the people once they see it? What about all of it do you enjoy the most?
Do you know what I probably enjoy the most is the people that I've met along the way doing it? Because there's a lot of people out there that will really help you to take your work further. You just don't realize it. So it's probably the people that I've met actually and made a lot of great friends through it.
And you obviously kicked off, I guess, really to a next level based on what you told me only over the course of the last, I would say, decade. Um, how was it for
Mm.
you starting off? Because there's a lot of artists and that we work with, and some of them are quite young. Some have dreams and visions for the future of seeing their art in so many different places, and um, obviously, you've made a lot of that happen, including the brand names, and a lot of that just kind of came to you based on what you told me, right? So there wasn't really a lot of
Yeah,
effort going
yeah.
going at it. Um, was it always kind of that? Was there always kind of that catalyst quickly, or was there a time where you were just kind of slowly creating art on your own? And at what point did you decide to take it, as a call it the primary career, if you will?
Well, I think, I always painted from the day I left art school and exhibited things, but it was kind of locally at that point. But it has only been really the past 3, 4 years that there's been any interest. I mean, there was a little bit of interest, but not like there's been. But I think I've just been lucky to have hit on something that's really sort of resonated with a lot of people.
And what do
But
you
yeah,
look
I mean,
to?
it's difficult when you first leave art school. I mean, I teach art, I'm an art lecturer, so I know with my students that when you leave, it is very, very difficult because art school doesn't really prepare you for the real art world. You're in this kind of bubble, and then it's just off you go. And it is very, very hard. And a lot of people give up, I think, very quickly because it is difficult. But I guess I just always kept going because I enjoyed doing it. But I never ever thought it was going to, I was going to do the things that I've done. It's just kind of, I think, been a lot of luck, really.
And what message do you have to all of those that obviously are starting out and are looking to have or at least be in a similar position of where you are, where your art's pretty much been all over the place, easy recognizable. You worked with, some great institutions and everything. What would be kind of a message to give them, and also for those kind of struggling out there, which by the way, they have really good talent, and we work with tons of artists with enormous talent that obviously struggling a little bit to make sales. What would be kind of your recommendation on that front? And also from a mental standpoint, as part of the core focus, what would you recommend on that front as well?
I would say just never give up. If it's something that you really enjoy, keep doing it. And yeah, any opportunities that you get, grab them because I think what's happened to me is a great example of how one opportunity can lead to another. And you might not think this is going to go anywhere, but actually you could be surprised how it does. And I suppose another tip would be, yes, do put your work on social media because for years and years I actually resisted doing it because I just thought, who's going to be interested in looking at my work? I only set up an Instagram account in the lockdowns, and I probably should have done it a long, long time ago. So I think there is more opportunity now with social media than there ever was. When I left art school, there wasn't such a thing. The only way your art could be seen was in a gallery or an exhibition. So I think people are very lucky now in that there are those opportunities. But at the same time, there's also so many people on it. It's hard to actually, yeah, capture people's attention. So, it is a difficult thing.
That's a really good point that you brought up, because obviously we as Plogix we are at the helm of this whole exposure side of things, and Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, all these different channels, they're a great tool for artists, but as you said, at the same time, there's so many of them, and now in today's world, to have 7 seconds of somebody's time to watch your art is almost like a magical, right? Because there's so much information
Yeah,
available and so many artworks available. Is
yeah,
it for you? I would assume, and based on most of the conversations with a lot of the artists, that some people, depending on the art that they do, it's a little bit more trickier to showcase their work on social media because it's not the same output as obviously seeing it live or in a physical location.
yeah.
Um, you having such a unique style, if you will, how has it been for you showcasing your work digitally? Has that played any kind of differentials in terms of role as opposed to showing it on the street, which is ultimately kind of your initial steps, or even so on a canvas?
Well, I think I'm lucky in that my work, yeah, looks digitally, it looks the same as it does in real life. But I know, yeah, there is a lot of people out there that actually sometimes it doesn't look so good digitally. Um, it looks better in the flesh. So yeah, I suppose because my work's quite colourful and vibrant, I don't think it really makes any difference.
And how much of a role did actual social media play on you getting to the right person at the right time? I know that you attended obviously some fairs, and you got to know the right people at the right time. How much of that do you recommend, those young artists starting um, to go do, as opposed or even so in parallel to obviously utilizing tools like social media?
Mm. It has all been due to social media. The things that I've been involved in, I probably wouldn't have been if it hadn't been for that. That's how people have contacted me initially. And then they've kind of maybe mentioned it to someone else they knew or passed on my name. So it's all been through that, really. But it was, Instagram has been really the thing that's got people seeing my work and got people to get in touch.
And you've done so many different things over the course of the last couple of years. What do you, I guess at this stage, what do you look to still achieve through your art that maybe you haven't done so much yet, or that you would like to take it to another level, if you will?
Well, I think when I started out, I didn't expect to have my work shown in the different countries that they have been. So my own sort of little personal goal, I guess, is I've kind of got a list and I've got a map now. And my aim is to get it in as many countries as possible. So I can tick those countries off that map.
When you say get it in as many countries, you mean
Yeah.
mainly showcase your work or actually have collectors there? or have your work at different, I don't know, maybe even so hotels, restaurants, homes, everywhere?
All of it, any of
All of
it.
that.
It's just a kind of personal goal. I thought, I never ever thought I'd achieve this. So now I think, right, I've had it almost halfway around the world. Let's get it completely around the world now.
Awesome. And in terms of your works now, are you creating more canvas work, or are you still doing the street art stuff? And finally, also within this, I'm sure there's obviously for those watching, perhaps they may be interested in the type of art that you're doing. Do you also do commission work, and kind of customized work for specific people?
Yeah, well, at the moment I am painting a lot of canvases at the moment because I've got a lot coming up. I've got a solo show in Madrid, and the work from there is then going. And then in between all that, there's all these other shows. And then in amongst all that, there's going to be a big fashion show. It's in a luxury yacht in Manhattan during New York Fashion Week. So I've got all that going on as well.
That's
And then
really
I'm getting requests. Then I'm getting requests now for 2026. So I'm like, good, because there's no way I can fit any more in this year. It's just impossible.
That's really, really amazing, Angela. And yeah, it's I'm really, really I guess what you're doing is obviously really unique, and working with all these different agencies. I think I mean what we're also so into the art world, so predominantly on the exposure side of things, but one of the things that we're looking to do more is work with organizations and brands to get obviously artists like yourself out there, but also others who are, of course, just starting, but also really talented at the same time. So it's yeah, it's really really interesting what you've done. The other thing I wanted to ask, we've mentioned about your art. We've mentioned kind of the kind of art that you do, the different mediums and bases and everything. Um, if you were to look at artists from before, either past that have passed or are still living, any particular that come to mind that inspired you, or any in particular that doesn't need to have to be well known, that really that you admire their work, or that you kind of have grasped some ideas to come up with the kind of unique style that you have?
Well, I've always been interested in German arts because I think he's a great work kind of into sort of mainstream galleries. And I just liked the fact that his work was all about black culture and kind of getting it seen. So his work's always really been a big influence to me.
Awesome. Perfect. And yeah, and when you're not creating art, what do you enjoy doing on your, call it your spare time? I know that you've obviously lecturing art, but that's still kind of connected with art. When you try to blank out from the whole art scene, what do you enjoy doing?
Singing, music, yes.
Okay. Awesome. That's really good. So have you ever been in the fashion side of things, or was it just kind of more in the midst of things, and you've learned kind of over the years?
I have absolutely no experience of fashion at all, apart from attending fashion shows. And as I say, it was just that a few designers I met said, put it on t-shirts because it's a good way to begin in the fashion sort of side of things because everybody wears t-shirts. It doesn't matter your age, your size, your gender, everybody wears t-shirts. So that's why I started with that. And then it's amazing how it's kind of now gone into other things, really.
What piece of fashion do you enjoy seeing your art most in out of every fashion piece that your art's been in?
Do you mean that like garment wise or?
Garment, accessories, dresses.
The show that's, well, oh, that's another thing I forgot. Yes, I'm also about to design two dresses it's actually going to be a program on Amazon Prime that's going to be shown live in November in Naples. It's called Miss Europe Intercontinental. I'm designing two dresses for one of the models for that. So
Wow,
that's
that's
actually something
awesome.
that I haven't done before is dresses. So that'll be kind of the first time that I've done something like that. I would say probably the things that are going to be on show in the the Manhattan show, I think are quite good. It's beachwear, and it's something that I hadn't really thought of before. But I can kind of see how a lot of my paintings, especially the sort of South American ones, things like that, yeah, do kind of suit beachwear more than I probably had thought about before.
When you say the South American ones, you mean the ones that are mostly related to tribal
Yeah, so
designs
Barocca,
from.
yeah, Barocca tribe of Costa Rica. There's what Bolivian, yeah, all these. It's all got lots of animals and things that are in them, and I think people quite like that and the patterns in the background. So yeah,
Do
it
you
fits with kind of
are you
beachwear.
are you also well acquainted with all these different ancient tribes? Like, do you have a lot of background about them as well?
Well, yeah, well, I feel when I started this, I thought, when you're doing something that's about cultures, you've really got to know about it because as soon as someone sees it from that country, they'll be very quick to point out if it's wrong. So I actually do know a lot about it because I've kind of had to. So
Yeah,
yeah, if you were to ask me about a particular tribe, yeah, I could tell you all about it.
that's awesome. Have you done any handbags by?
Yes, yes, there is actually, yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of people in the industry as well.
Yeah.
Super. Well, all sounds amazing. And for those watching, are you working on any current series right now, or any showcases that are coming up aside from those, obviously with Plogix, that maybe you want to let our viewers know, or that maybe where they can actually see your work live?
Well, the sort of next one that will definitely be sort of the one that's going to be happening soon will be in Madrid, will be the solo show there. So yeah, I've been looking again at lots of different tribes. I'm trying to sort of, I suppose, because it's the first time I'll have done, all my work's normally been in group exhibitions. So people only get to see a glimpse of it really. So I'm trying to kind of incorporate as many different cultures as I possibly can into the solo show. So yeah, I'm looking at lots of things like Mexican, Japanese, Mayan, yeah, just loads of different, as much colourful pieces as I can really.
Awesome. And do you do a set amount for every series, or you just kind of play it ad hoc, depending on what the theme of each
Well, this
showcase is?
exhibition, they did say that they need about 15 to 20. So I'm trying to do various sizes because, when you do these things, normally, you'll always get people, oh, I like that, but it's too small, or oh, I like that, but it's too big. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to kind of please everybody by doing a whole array of sizes.
That's awesome. And Angela, for those watching that obviously want to purchase maybe some of your arcs, aside from at Plogix, any other kind of self websites that you have, or any other places where they could obviously take a look at
Well,
that? Or you, yeah,
yeah,
go
there
ahead.
is obviously my own website, so that's just angelathoulless.com. But yeah, a lot of the fashion pieces are available through Fashion Crossover London or Emporio Aragayo as another people that I'm collaborating with for the New
Okay.
York show.
Who, if you can share it, of course, who are your top collaborators? Just so that most of the viewers out there that are watching know more or less who you're working with.
Well, fashion-wise, it would be Fashion Crossover London and Emporio Aragayo. Art-wise, it would be, well, Capital Culture House. I've done quite a lot with them. Um, and a lot of galleries. It tends to be Italy. I don't know why, but my work is very, very popular in Italy.
In Italy, awesome. No,
Yes.
that's
Why I
that's
don't know, but it just is.
That's really, really good. Final two questions. So, one of it really important because it means a lot to us, and of course, we put a lot of effort in helping artists thrive and exposing their works, exposing their story, like we're obviously doing today. What do you enjoy most about, being part of projects in our community? Obviously, you've been with us for quite some time now. You've been at several of our showcases. What is it that you enjoy most, or that you get most out of our community, and what would you like to see, obviously, in the near future, also working alongside us?
Well, I think it's great that you try and get work into unusual kind of spaces or, that places that you just wouldn't normally think. And I've just always found everybody involved in it very supportive. In fact, when I first joined you, I think it was Ricardo who had said he was from Venezuela, and that's actually what got me looking at Venezuelan culture, and that was why I started doing some paintings there. So again, you inspired some of the paintings as well. So
Awesome,
it's right back
perfect.
to what I said. It's all about the people that you meet along the way. So, that's another great example of it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll certainly let Ricardo know about that. And they're all
Well, he
really
knows 'cause he sent me lots of images in the past to help me. So, yeah.
okay, awesome. That's really, really good to hear. Yeah, a lot of our team is obviously, really inspired, and our goal is to really get to know the artists as much as possible, kind of part of what we're doing today as well. Um, Thank you very much for the kind words. The final thing I want to ask you, and very important, it's a little bit ad hoc. I tend to ask it to most, not all, but to most of the artists. Um, if you look maybe 50 years from now, and your artwork is still around everywhere, whether you or even myself or everyone's still around or not, the people that are viewing your art at that point in time in the near future, they say, "Oh, that's a beautiful work. That's what this style was from Angela Thouless, and she was known for X, Y, Z." Whether that's one word, one line, what would it be for you? What would you like to be kind of remembered as, not just so as an artist, as a person, but more importantly, kind of throughout all the symbolism that you've actually also created through your art?
Yes, the one word that would sum it up, and it would really would be togetherness.
Togetherness. Okay.
Yeah, because
That's
I would like people to look at the work and see that it brings cultures together, people together. So yeah, I think that would be the perfect word.
super. Excellent. Well, it's been really, really amazing, Angela, learning more about your work. I think it's super inspiring what you're doing. We're very happy to be working with you, and we obviously look forward to doing a lot of more great things in the near future. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing your journey with us today, and looking forward to seeing your works up in our next showcase.
That's
Thank you.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram to support our artists.